Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag-and-drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara is over. The only time a man should be in a box is when he's dead.
के बाद तुम कहाँ ऐसी बॉयज ट्रिप पे जाना चाहोगे?
Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. We were talking about it this week. We're continuing our series of films that were released 10 years ago, in line with our release 10 years ago. And it is our first Indian Hindi language film that we've talked about on the show, I believe. Is that true?
Yes, it is. It is our first one. And it's kind of exciting to dip into Bollywood here and just kind of get a taste of what some of the films that come out of India are like. So, we're kicking it off with Zoya Akhtar. This is another film in our 10-year anniversaries series. This film came out in 2011 and was quite the hit. And so now, it's on the list because another film that received a lot of positive reviews. A lot of people seemed to like this film when it came out. And so as we were putting this list together, again, it wasn't something we'd heard of, but sounded interesting and it had those high scores. So we said, you know what? Let's drop it on our list and talk about it. See how it is.
And I think it's time for us to do the review swap. What do you think I thought of this movie?
Well, the fact that you talked about it on the Saturday matinee and how much you enjoyed it.
Oh, you listened to Saturday matinee. God.
Didn't help your case here because you already said how great a time you had with the film. So, yes. So I already know. And I'm assuming that you read my Letterboxd review.
No, I haven't. I saw that you reviewed it and I didn't because I shut my ear holes off and eye holes off when I see those reviews. Unlike you, who left your ear holes open. No, I don't know what you thought.
I wasn't even expecting it to come up. And then all of a sudden there you were talking about it.
I know. I was excited about it. I was so excited about it. Okay, I also think you loved it. I think you had a blast with this movie. Yeah, I don't know if it's a 5-star movie for you, but I know that it's definitely going to stand as a highlight in our series of 10-year anniversary films this year.
All right. Well, this film, when it was released here in the States, was not rated, but in context of everything, it is very mild. There's just not a lot offensive in any way in this film. There's some kissing, there's some scenes of implications, people in bed together, things like that. But, mild profanity, some drinking, but nothing that I would say is going to turn anybody off. You want to watch this movie and help us out? If you see an Apple or Amazon link to this in the show notes, just click on it. It'll take you right to their site. You can rent or buy the movie, and we get a little tiny piece in return. Really helps us out, and we really appreciate it.
We're upping our game in the merch store. Merch is a great, great way to support this show. If you want to buy a logo shirt or logo mug, travel mug, get some stickers. It's all over in our TeePublic store. And we are dropping new logos from many of the movies that we talk about on the show, in addition to the classic the classic Next Reel logo merch. So it really helps us out. If you, if you're looking for a way to support the show, not quite ready to become a member, aren't really interested in any of the other stuff we do, get yourself a shirt. That's a great way to help us out.
We are now featuring audio reviews from you, our dear listeners. We haven't been featuring many because the ones that we've gotten are more for movies a little farther down the line. So we'd love it if people start watching some films and just sending us the reviews in, and then we'll throw them onto the shows. Just send your 30-ish second audio review to reviews@truestory.fm as soon as you watch the movie, and we just might showcase it on the show. You got to get them in quick. We record about 2 weeks in advance. Again, it's reviews@truestory.fm.
And if you're a fan of Letterboxd.com like we are, you can check out our HQ page over there. We've got all of our watch lists, all of the lists of films we've talked about, the reviews, links to stories. It's all up there on our Letterboxd HQ page at letterboxd.com/thenextreel. And if you are Letterboxd curious and you're interested in upping your Letterboxd game, you can upgrade from the free plan to a pro or patron membership. Just use the discount code NEXTREEL or visit thenextreel.com/letterboxd, and the code will automatically be applied on the page that you visit there. 20% off. It works for renewals as well. Nextreel at checkout or thenextreel.com/letterboxd.
This podcast is an independent podcast, and, one way you can let us know that you enjoy the show is to support us by becoming a member. We use Memberful, which is essentially Patreon. If you're familiar with Patreon, it's pretty much the same thing. They're the same company. Just Memberful, it integrates into your own site, so you don't have to go to Patreon's website to sign in there. But that's one thing that you could do to help us, just becoming a member and supporting the show. Members get early access to all of the episodes and all sorts of member bonus episodes.
It's like Christmas. It's Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas and you're sitting there thinking as you're building your Christmas list, what could I possibly get Pete and Andy? You now have so many options. You have merch. You could get yourself a shirt and you'd be giving back to Pete and Andy and the rest of the team here. You join Letterboxd and you're giving back to Pete and Andy and the whole Next Real team by look at all the gifts that you could get, or become a member and you once again are giving back. And so many bonus episodes. We have so many bonus episodes. We've got a Flick Chart re-ranking episode that comes up at the end of every season. We've got, or every month, we've got our retake episodes where we wrap up at the end of each season that we do. We've got bonus movies that we talk about, series that come in to fill the series, a series of years long ago, with so many bonus episodes, and we would love it if you would check those out, but you can't check them out unless you become a supporting member.
And members can vote on the movies that we're talking about each month as our member bonus episodes.
Head to truestory.fm/TNR membership to learn more about all the membership tiers. Most it'll cost you is $5 a month or $55 a year.
Welcome to the Man Cave. On this couch, wearing clothes made from recycled plastic.
And I haven't showered since Thursday.
Mandy Fabian. And on this couch, lover of all things Real Housewives and fart jokes.
That was a good one.
Oh, God.
Mandy Kaplan. Each week, these best friends and polar opposites hunt down a movie, TV show, or trend.
Whether it's Brene Brown or Little House on the Prairie.
Or something good.
Okay, that's unnecessary.
And drag it back to the cave to duke it out.
I'm just saying the Ingalls never break into song, and it needs
Not
it.
everything has to be.
Everything needs music.
You think
Everything
Schindler's
needs
List should be a
choreography.
musical.
Everything would be better
Oh,
if everyone would
it's the
just
worst.
sing.
It's the worst.
dance.
I should sing
You're
that.
the worst.
Ladies, can we get back to the...
Sorry, tune into the Man Cave wherever you get your podcasts to see if the friendship survives.
You're so dramatic. It's a comedy podcast.
So's your face.
That's a good one.
Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. The most, whatever you think of the movie, it's the most fun title we have.
It possibly
in
is.
the entire collection, ever.
Possibly. It's a great title. Love it.
Yeah,
and it roughly translates, it directly translates to Life Will Never Come Again. Roughly, you only live once. That's essentially the message of the title.
Let me ask you this. This is the most important question I think that I have for you about the entire show. How glad are you that this wasn't the Indian remake of The Hangover?
The Hangover was great. I don't know if I would have had a problem with that. If it was Hangover 2 or Hangover 3, I would have a serious issue because those were hot trash. But no, this film, I didn't know what to expect with the film. I mean, I had kind of read the synopsis and I had an idea. I'd seen the trailer. It was, three buddies on a road trip through Spain, but I didn't really have a sense of what the story was. And I guess what struck me right away is, we meet our three main characters and they each have something going on in their lives. One of them is getting married. And so this trip that they do periodically with each other where they go and do like these adventure sports types of things also is kind of substituting for the bachelor party. So there's that one. But does he really love her? Is it really the right thing to do? So that's going on in his life. You've got another of these friends who really wants to go to Spain because his father lives there, who he has never met before. He kind of left his mother as soon as he found out that she was pregnant. And so, that whole thing, quest to connect with your blood. And then the third one is just very much kind of that focused on money and being a stockbroker, but is that what's going to make him happy? And so, we kind of get a sense that there's something going on with each of them. Plus there's obviously some back history between them. There had been some infighting that had happened. And so we get these little bits and pieces, and then they go on to this journey in Spain. And I realized as I started watching this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be one of these personal journey stories, and one of the favorites of both you and I, of course, is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty remake.
Mm-hmm.
I love this type of story where somebody's going on a personal journey to figure themselves out. And here we have this trio essentially doing just that. And so once I kind of like, oh, this is going to be one of these movies, I was just like, I don't know. It had me hook, line, and sinker.
It took me a little while to get into the movie because I was so struck by how gorgeous everybody is in this movie.
They're every single one of them. Every single one of them.
It's not like, we were talking about, where the beautiful people are in Where Do We Go Now? Right? Like there was always
they were all in this
beautiful.
movie.
They're all here. They were all, it turns out they weren't in Lebanon. They were in Spain making this movie because there was no one, even the ruddy skydiving instructor was handsome, like they were so gorgeous. Everybody in this movie. Salman Habib, the actor, Nasiruddin Shah, playing the bit part of the old man father artist. He was handsome. Like everybody was off the charts in this movie. And I thought that was hysterical. I really worried that it was just going to be a play on tropes, right? That it was just going to be, taking the obvious lessons of life change and not doing anything sort of interesting with it. But I have to tell you, I was really moved by all of I think anchored around all of these life-changing experience moments of them, jumping out of airplanes, deep sea diving, and then finally running with the bulls. Not to mention the Tomatia Festival. I mean, I thought all of those three big anchor moments really did an able job of separating my internal sort of movie watcher from that sort of trope road. Like it was able to shake things up just enough so that I didn't get sort of overrun by I've seen it before. Everybody was, I think, did such a good job of handling their own journey that as simple and sweet as the movie was, it didn't get saccharine to me. It didn't overdo it.
Yeah. Exactly. And I was kind of worried because I'm like, oh, this could be one of these things where it turns into this kind of saccharine sweet story with these characters and they each have to go on their journey. And, we're going to see all of that happen. And, the guy is going to end up not with his fiancée by the end. And like it all was very predictable. And with that often comes that concern that they're going to use that to kind of create maudlin emotions out of it all that I just don't buy. Every one of these characters I was wholly invested in. Like they created such interesting just kind of journeys and relationships between them that I bought into all of it. And the way that their stories unfolded, like I really connected with them and all of the little bits and pieces. It surprised me at every turn. I was really engaged and happily found this to be a journey worth taking.
Okay, so let's talk about the actual inciting incident of the film. The whole reason we're doing this is because our main guy, Kabir, is getting married. And there is a twist to his proposal. We open the film with him on his knees, with the ring outstretched to his bride-to-be.
Natasha, right?
Natasha Aurora. And she says, "Are you serious?" And there is that sort of romantic befuddlement that goes on with a proposal, and then the movie takes off, and he's suddenly getting married, and he brings together these three guys. And even before the credits run, before we get the title screen, we get an entire packing montage, which actually, I think, does an incredible job of showing us who these characters are by just how they prepare for a trip and the calls that they have to make. And my goodness, I could watch Arjun pack for 3 days. He's just meticulous. That was packing pornography right there. That was awesome. So I think it actually, the movie does a really good job of actually bringing you into its world of setting up who these guys are and what they're in for. And it also sets up the story that they're each going to be taking together. It's not a short movie. I think, we're not looking at one of our 90-minute kind of song and dance fests. This movie actually invests and, to my eye, completes by the end of the film the stories that start in this opening credits montage. Did you feel any sort of emptiness? Because this was to me the big risk that they're going to set up way too much going on up front that they're not going to be able to make good on at the end.
Well, I guess because I knew it was 2.5 hour film, I kind of felt like they better pay all this off. Because that's a long film for this type of thing. I mean, I had heard Bollywood films are longer, and they fill it with the music and all that sort of stuff, and so I was kind of just going in expecting all of that. But again, to your point, They do set all of this up with the characters. And first of all, just as a side note, I was really thrown with the proposal because we have Kabir proposing to Natasha, but then it's like this huge party. And I'm like, is this an engagement party? Is that a thing people do? And I was like, well, maybe it was an arranged marriage. And so when it's an arranged marriage, they already know they're getting married. And so they have an engagement party.
Right.
Like that was where my head was. Cause I was like, how would they have known to have a party, to have this engagement? Like it really threw me. So later, it all makes so much more sense. But at the beginning, I was like, that's an odd little tradition. But yes, so I loved kind of the setups of these characters, Kabir, Imran, and Arjun. And they're very interesting. And even those little moments, like you see Arjun when he's working out and he walks out of the fitness center and runs into this ex of his, and they have a very brief exchange, and he finds out that she's getting married. And that was the catalyst he needed to go on this trip because he was getting ready to back out of it. But he had closed himself off to so much that I guess he just needed to get away. And so I really liked the setup for each of them, and it made for a great setup. And yes, they really did give us solid resolutions for each of the characters by the time we get to the end. So yeah, they each had fully completed journeys, and I really liked that with this.
Did you notice the nod to Die Hard?
Yes, the Nakatomi.
The chairman of the Nakatomi Corporation is going to be in this big meeting.
My wife and I looked at each other and had a chuckle at that. We're like, wait, Nakatomi?
I thought that was really good.
Nakatomi?
Yeah. I felt like that was right on, and then we each get, the way the movie is structured, we get to see the challenges that each of these men overcome in order to solve their own puzzle, right? And so the first one we get is Arjun and his, they make it to, were they already in Spain? They were already in Spain. Where were they in Spain when they go diving? That was off the coast somewhere.
Costa Brava. So they went diving, and that is where they met Layla, played by Katrina Kaif. And she's delightful, also beautiful. Yes.
And I found myself calling her, when I couldn't remember her name, the Jedi fortune cookie. Because she is she's the one character in this movie that I think comes off with a wavering sort of degree of hypersensitivity that I find a bit off-putting. That you could tell she's the one that particularly for Arjun, she is leading him out of the darkness of his abject workaholism. And sometimes her lines appear to be written, and maybe this is because the lines that I have trouble with, I was listening to in Hindi and reading them, and they weren't originally spoken in English or written in English, but I just felt like she's the one where it pulled me out of the veil. It pulled me out of the story, because they would verge into saccharine territory, and I just couldn't do it. It was too tropey. And so that broke my heart a little bit, because I really like her and I like her role. I just felt like it was so obvious what she was to play in the lives of these guys, that I got a little bit blech from it.
Really? And see, that
just
didn't,
a little bit. I mean, not like a full star's worth of blech, but just a tin.
Sounds like you had a real issue there.
I had a quibble.
I didn't have the thing with her is that it just plays into kind of the romance element of the whole thing, and there definitely was something interesting that had happened. I mean, as we learned, there had been this kind of infidelity between a couple of our characters, where we find out that Imran had actually slept with Arjun's girlfriend,
the same girlfriend that we meet on the street in London in the beginning, right? Wasn't that the same woman?
No. No, totally different girlfriend. No, that's
It
totally
was?
different girl. No, yeah, that was a London girl that was totally separate. Because he wasn't with her anymore at this point.
Right.
This was a different girl that had happened 4 years ago. The girl that he met in London, it was a more fresh, more recent breakup.
Oh, okay. All right. No, I mistook that. I don't know that it matters, but I did mistake that.
Yeah, because remember the girl in London, he has a flashback later, and she leaves him because he is too focused on his work and has no time for her and has to leave on her birthday and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah. Okay. All right.
So, but yeah, 4 years ago, Imran had fooled around with Arjun's girl and never really apologized for it, which allowed for it, in my mind, a great, telegraphing of something that comes up later with an apology and a moment with Imran's father. I loved the way all of that played. So there was already this animosity between the two of them, and the scene on the side of the road after Imran throws Arjun's phone out was great. And we also learned from Kabir that she really wasn't that great of a girl anyway. Like, she was kind of a pain in the butt and was using Arjun, and then once she left him for Imran, also left Imran for someone else. And so just wasn't a great girl. And so they kind of acknowledged that. But there's already kind of this love battle between the two of them. And what I enjoyed about what Layla brought in is that she was just carefree and just a vibrant character. And it was clear that she was just going to be a fun person to have around. But I love the way that Arjun instantly is drawn to her, but Imran is the one who goes up to her first and totally starts flirting with her. And she doesn't, you can tell that she kind of also likes Arjun, but she's also just like, I'm just here to just have fun. I'm not really here to do anything serious. And so she's just kind of like enjoying Imran's, his flirts and kind of just the way that he's always presenting himself. But also, like when they go to Bunyol and they meet her up with her friend Nuria, because Imran likes Nuria, she's like, oh, I see how that was. And, it was great because she didn't ever really care. And that's what was kind of great about her as a character. And so there was a little bit of a setup, like, is she here for anything? But as it turns out, there was this connection with Arjun that she does end up having. And I loved that moment when she bikes after them just to give him a kiss goodbye. And that whole thing about regrets,
no regrets, right?
Those were elements that didn't necessarily need to be in there, but it allowed for just kind of that feel of Arjun's journey that he needed to go on. And I don't know. For me, I didn't have any issue with any of that because it felt a complete part of what we needed in this story.
And I totally agree. And I don't have any problem with her interaction with the three guys, right? As a group, I think they were really great. And there's just oozing with charisma on screen. But my challenge with Jedi Fortune Cookie is when she had one-on-one moments, right? When she had the Arjun whisperer moments where she had to calm him down or talk to him while they're staring at the stars, or those were the moments that I felt like were a little bit on the quibbly side for me. They just pushed the boundary, and it sort of leads to the second minor quibble that I have with the movie, which is the upset fiancé trope.
Okay, hold on. So just going back though. So what was your problem specifically with them when they're laying on the grass in the park looking up at the stars?
I like the idea of them looking up at the stars, but when she says things like, driving is like meditation. You're conscious of every breath, every moment. Just imagine living your whole life like this. Be fully alive to each and every moment. That's a fortune cookie. Be fully alive to each and every moment is a fortune cookie. It is Jedi fortune cookie. But you don't say that about Imran's poetry throughout the film? It's already caged as poetry, right? It is written as poetry. They're telling us this is poetry. And to me in the story, it's just poetry. But they're giving those words to a human being and making her say them as if they're part of her character. Seize the day, my friend. First, live today to the fullest. Then think about when you become 40 years old. It's a fortune cookie. It is a Jedi fortune cookie.
Okay, so you don't like people talking in wise words.
I guess I'm not as wizened as I thought. I don't mind wise words. I think the context is everything.
No, it's just you feel that you're there now because you're so old.
And it feels manipulate. You shut your mouth. It feels like I'm being manipulated in this movie. Like I know the whole movie is manipulating me to feel a certain way. And let me tell you, when, as an example of this, you already brought up the moment when the heartfelt apology happens between the two guys about the girlfriend after the father moment. Yeah. I saw that coming 100 miles away. I'd been seeing it coming since they were fighting with each other on the road. I knew it was coming. I thought, oh my God, they're going to do this thing that I see coming. And then it came and I was moved. I was absolutely moved by that moment. It was performed well. It was written well. It was austere in its own way. And I think they took they took a trope and could have made it completely tropey. And those two guys sold it. They nailed it, right? I was 100% in that moment with them. That sort of like really pushing into masculine vulnerability in a movie that could totally have come off the trope rails. And I don't think I can say the same thing about so many of the things that Layla said. I was never really in the moment with her Jedi fortune cookie wisdom.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I had a good sense of where you were with all of that. I didn't have any issues with it. I thought in context of the film, it was fine. And she was that type of character who was going to be like, living the lifestyle of the crazy person who never settles down.
Yeah.
And, that in and of itself could also be the type of person that you need to make this movie about, who finally figures out, oh, I really do need to settle down, right? It's like, it's that her character is a trope in itself of like, I just want to be free, carefree all my life. Mm-hmm. Well, that also can be its own problem. It's finding a balance. And that's, we don't get that in her character. And certainly Arjun, his turn to go from, the extreme, I want to make a lot of money to, I want to live carefree and travel the world and not have any rules pin me down. Like mm-hmm. he is going from one extreme to another. But you know what? In context of the film, it's fine. It's a journey, and I totally buy into it. Yeah. But yeah, I can see your point. I didn't have any issues with that. But now you said your other issue was the fiancé that isn't necessarily the right choice trope.
Did you have any issues with that? You probably didn't. You were fine. 100%.
Well,
you were fine.
No, well, it's interesting because I guess there is plenty of room for that type of trope in films. It's been used many times in storytelling, and I mean, it can work. It can also be overdone. It came up, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not surprised that we're going here. The angle that it took was a little interesting, which I hadn't really explored much, where it's like that idea of, well, now that we're getting married, I'm just going to drop everything that I'm doing and you're going to drop everything you're doing and we're going to become the we unit, and it's all just about what we're going to do. Like there was something interesting in that angle that I don't feel like I had seen too often. But I mean, yeah, that certainly was more of the expected trope, I guess I would say.
Yeah, and a little bit just tiresome. Mostly because they did a great job in affecting my general dislike of her when she shows up. Like, it's all part of the trope mechanism. When she shows up on the trip, she insinuates herself into the group dynamics, which I was really enjoying. I felt like we were already going down the road where the movie had sort of committed to to the journey of these men, and maybe I didn't need her there, but I get it. I get why she was there. It's that additional complicating factor that pushes the story in new ways. And it does push the guys to have another conversation of vulnerability on the rooftop where he comes clean and says, I was never really, I never really intended to propose to her. Yeah. Which I thought that moment, again, like if that's the punchline to the setup of a trope that I don't care for so much, then that was worth it. Like it was worth it. But
well, it's so great. He's look at the ring. It's a mommy ring. Like,
yeah, I know.
I was laughing so hard at that. It's like,
That was so good. That was such a good moment. And it gives us the flashback, which I thought was a really effective use of the moment to open the film and the flashback to the setup of the moment later. I thought
Right.
that was really really effective, and the whole thing worked. I just wasn't crazy about some of the other manipulative kind of bits in the middle, with her showing up, and that whole trip with her driving the car. I'm a hard rock chick. Like that whole moment was just like, oh, come on, let's move on to the next major beat. Let's be done with this. I don't need this.
I actually didn't have any issues with her joining them. Like, for me, that all worked in context of how they set her up in the story. It's like, well, of course, now she's going to show up, and then we're going to go through this whole thing of trying to balance that of you know, her irritation with her fiancé, and, you know, Kabir's reaction to all of that, and the reaction of the other two guys and the other women too. Like, all of them, like it created a nice moment to kind of stir the pot a little bit. And I thought it worked great.
Yeah.
So I didn't have an issue when she came, but it was more just the fact that it was a trope to begin with, to kind of set it's essentially the foundation of the story, that, you know, he's engaged to this woman that isn't right for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, but again, it didn't bug me. And in terms of what you were saying about the other one, the quibbles for this one, you know, they're pretty minor for me.
Yeah, they're pretty minor. And to the movie's credit, they got rid of her pretty quick. Like, she wasn't on their trip for very long.
Yeah,
right?
just for a day.
They did just for a day. And that was, I think, that was a good choice. So for being ostensibly a Bollywood movie, I went into this movie expecting more singing and dancing.
Well, and that is a good question. Like, I don't know if this is officially Bollywood. Like,
yeah,
I guess it is. I don't know. Hindi cinema. It's often known as Bollywood, formerly Bombay cinema. It's the Indian Hindi language film industry based in Mumbai. So this film, it is an Indian...
Even though it was shot all over on location in many different places.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it is Hindi language.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I guess technically it just is. It's like, does every film that come out of Hollywood have to say, oh, this is a Hollywood film? You know?
Yeah, I don't know the answer. You're absolutely right. That's a good comparison. I don't think it's true. Therefore, this one probably fits the bill. I would say, as an aside, I loved listening to the movie, right? Like, I found it such a linguistic roller coaster, moving back and forth between Hindi and English.
It's great.
I loved it. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Like, it was just fun for my ears to kind of play in this. Back to hear the words that you get, I think, over the course of the 2.5 hours, you get sort of attuned to hearing the Hindi, and then English words pop up here and there, and then full sentences in English. And so it's a kind of a game to watch this movie for non-Hindi bilingual English speakers.
When I went and visited my buddy in Singapore, it was very much the same. And it really kind of throws you, because like they would be speaking Malay, but as they spoke Malay, and it's almost even a little more, because they would go from Malay to English to Mandarin, and it's just like, I'm like, how do you keep track of all of that? He's just like, it's whatever words are the easiest ones to say, the easiest ones to kind of get the expression across. You just kind of put that out there, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And so, it's fun to hear. And it was so much fun to listen to. The way that they had that patter with their dialogue bouncing between Hindi and English was great. And also, it may not have been as much a musical as I was expecting, although it certainly does have a couple of moments that really, I was like, well, there it is. Here's our great Bollywood moment. Yeah. But the music, the soundtrack was killer. Like, afterward, I watched it with my wife and my mom, and my mom was just like, I want the soundtrack right now. Like, I love all this music. It was so fun to listen to. Like, it was great. Yeah, lots of tunes.
The big number with the three guys, Senorita, was they posted when the movie hit its 8-year anniversary. They posted a couple of Instagram photos that were talking about some kind of behind the scenes stuff, and it turns out Senorita was recorded by telling all the actors that the recordings were just a rehearsal. But what we saw, everybody thought was a rehearsal shot. I thought that was really fun. It just, Senorita was a great number, and all three of the guys. That was, when you just realize how incredibly athletic and graceful all three of these guys are. They're not. They're just not, macho heartthrobs. They can sing and dance. Seriously,
They definitely. Yeah, it was insane, like watching them. I mean, because we have this, and then we have the end credits music number when it turns out to be the wedding of Layla and Arjun, which was a great little moment. But yeah, like all the dancing just like was stunning. And I guess this was actually the first time that it was the singing debut for two of the actors in it, for Deol and Roshan. That they were Kabir and Arjun. So they had never actually sung in one of these films before.
I did watch some trailers of Hrithik Roshan's other movies, and he'd done a movie in 2000, I think, called Mission Kashmir.
Uh-huh.
It's essentially a Rambo movie, and the trailer, it's like the movie that they were lampooning in Tropic Thunder. It's just screaming. It's just him screaming with blood running down his face and boats blowing up on the water. And now I want to see everything that these guys have ever done. I mean, everything.
Exactly.
I don't know if there were any singing and dancing moments, but.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because you look at them like Farhan Akhtar, who plays Imran, like he is part of a big Bollywood family. His sister, Zoya, I mean, we haven't even brought up Zoya Akhtar. She's the writer-director of this film. I should say co-writer. She co-wrote it with Rima Kagti, and based on a story that Zoya and Rima came up together. And then this is kind of that interesting world of that where you have the dialogue writer. And I guess, I don't know, because Farhan Akhtar, he actually produced the film and wrote the dialogue for the film. And my sense of that is, it's like when you would hire a specific writer in Hollywood to come in and like punch up the dialogue, right? It's just, the way that the Writers Guild works, that person just doesn't get credit anymore. There used to be somebody who got credit as dialogue way back in the day, but it's no longer part of the crediting for Writers Guild. Whereas here in India, Farhan Akhtar still got the dialogue credit. But yeah, Farhan, who played Imran, and Zoya, our brother and sister, are part of the this big Akhtar dynasty, I guess you could say. And his father, Javed Akhtar, is a poet, lyricist, screenwriter, political activist, and his mother, Honey, is an actress and screenwriter. And yeah, it's just, they're very much part of this big Bollywood family.
Yeah, and wasn't it? It was the father. The father did all the poetry. It was the father's original. He wrote the poetry, right? I think I read that. Did you read that?
You're right. Yeah, for that we hear throughout the film, the poetry was the father's. Yeah,
yeah. He is just in terms of presentation of these characters. Like I think you start looking at again the IMDb photos of Farhan Akhtar, and he's presented in this movie as kind of the goofy third wheel friend, right? Slightly longer, roughed up hair. He's always kind of playing jokes and pranks, and he's the guy who throws the cell phone out the window. Like he's such a prankster.
The one who doesn't know how to give an authentic apology. Yeah,
right. And they give the Arjun all the shirt off shots, but that's got to be because Farhan is chiseled of even stronger muscle and sinew than Arjun, because his behind the scenes photos are stunning. He should be in a museum just sitting still. You would not be able to tell he's not made of stone. This is an incredible physical specimen right here.
Both of them, like when it's the Tomatina festival and they end up shirtless.
God.
It's like, yeah, there are probably a lot of thirsty people watching this who are just like loving every moment with them. Or when they're on the beach, which was a funny story because it was actually a nude beach that they were filming that when they meet Layla for the first time, and so they just had to film it in just the right way to not actually show any of the nude parts of the beach.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I look at this, like I'm looking at this promotional picture of him in Bag Milka Bag, and I think to myself, when would I have had to start doing sit-ups to be able to do that, like in my life. 6?
That's right.
5, 6? Anyway, I don't remember where we were. Let's talk more about the music, the musical numbers. So we talked about there wasn't enough music, but the music was great. You can get the whole soundtrack. It is on Apple Music and Spotify, and it's fantastic.
A lot of great songs. Senorita was a fantastic one, but like all the music that played throughout it was just fun. It was a lot of fun music that I just enjoyed. So it's definitely one that I want to pick up and listen to. This
was our second Tomatina experience. This one we get more of. I mean, there's exuberant celebration of smashed tomatoes in this movie.
There definitely is. They actually recreated the festival because they weren't, I would imagine, filming a movie during the actual Tomatina festival is probably difficult. So they recreated it. They had almost 16 tons of tomatoes. They spent $130,000 on them that they brought in from Portugal just to make this moment happen. And so, yeah, I can only imagine the people of Buñol, Spain, like, we did it once.
Yeah.
We really have to go through this again. It's like all the damn tomatoes. Jeez.
That was a really fun little montage moment, and I think it worked well for the characters, and it was a great lead up to our final event. Now that we have jumped out of airplanes and we've done our diving to go run with bulls.
I mean, just speaking of music, I mean, the song Ik Junoon plays while we're there in La Tomatina, which, again,
Paint It Red.
Very fun song. Very fun song.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we go to the running of the bulls, which, of all of the elements of the film, that's the thing that created controversy because of animal rights. Animal rights activists protested the film because of those scenes. They wanted all of that stuff cut out of the film. And the filmmakers said, we put all the paperwork in. No animals were injured or hurt. It was cleared, and all it is, we're just showing the culture of Spain. But even like there was a Spanish-American artist, Charo, who sent a letter on behalf of PETA asking to please remove the scenes. One of those things. I mean, the running of the bulls happens. It's just one of those things. I guess that it's still here. For me, I don't know enough about the running of the bulls to speak to the animal rights side of it, because for me, it seems like if anyone's getting hurt, it's the people, because
there was that one guy who got skewered and trampled.
What a dumb thing to do. There were a few, and I'm like, there's a reason I will never do that, because it just is, people get gored and hurt, and ouch. No thanks.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. I'm not crazy about bullfighting, right? I'm not crazy about stabbing the bulls. I'm not crazy about any of that. But the bull run, I don't know what happens to the bulls at the end, right? What happens at the end with the bulls? They're fine? They go back until they can go up to a farm upstate? They're fine? I hope so.
Well, I always look at it as the reverse of the bullfights. Like, this is the bulls' chance to get their revenge.
Yeah,
but
to get their revenge.
Maybe that was just my silly view of it. And honestly, I'm being fairly silly.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at it right now, every year between 50 and 100 people get injured during the run. Not all of the people have to get hospitalized, but, a lot of them. Goring is less common, but it can be life-threatening. In 2013, 6 participants were gored. In 2012, only 4 people were injured by the horns. And so it's, it is a thing.
Since 1910, there have been 15 deaths in the bull run of Pamplona. 15. And 14 of them are goring, which I feel like it's written on the tin. That's how you're going to go. If you're going to go, this is how it's going to be. In 1977, there was the one where he suffocated in a pileup.
What opponents say about the issues that they feel that it's not a good thing, they say the bulls get mentally stressed by the harassment and voicing of their participants and spectators. Some of the animals can die because of the stress, especially if they are roped or if they bring flares in their horns.
Ugh.
It is one of those things where animals can get very stressed out with it. A lot of places that have done these similar things, like Mexico and other places, they have been canceled. Just so you know, though, as of 2002, there was something run before the running of the bulls. It was called the running of the nudes. And I think that's probably a little safer. Do you think the people who are running nude are as mentally stressed?
But they do make the nudes wear horns just to make it feel like the real thing. You're just naked running down the streets of Pamplona. Here's the problem with the running of the bulls and why I think I'm, as we talk about it, I am coming out against it. If you were to go out into an open field and scream at a bull and then run away from it and see if it would follow you, I might be okay with that. But putting them in these narrow human-created alleyways, like it is a wildly unnatural environment for the bulls. I know it is such a feat of masculinity, a demonstrations of virility, but it is cruel, genuinely cruel, I think, to the animals. And and so I think I stand with you that it should be called Bull's Revenge. And then it should be stopped. Like it probably is a thing that we've moved past as humans.
I'm like this whole running of the nudes thing. Like now I'm into this whole thing. Like there are other ways you can do this. Like I like this one in 2008, Red Bull Racing. They had it where it was a version where Formula One cars would chase runners. Who's going to win on that one?
Oh, my goodness. That's terrible.
In Ballyjames, Ireland, they have the Pigs Run. This is crazy. I didn't know there were so many. They do a running of the sheep in New Zealand. There is, in Anchorage, Alaska, there's a running of the reindeer. So,
wow.
Yeah. A lot of these different things.
We don't like any of those things. Like, why would I want to run from a sheep?
It's 1,000 to 2,000 sheep. So it could just be that there's a lot of them. And if you fall, that's a lot of hooves that are going to be trampling on you.
Okay. Can you just think for a minute about this one? The Running of the Bulls UK. It is a pub crawl event that takes place in London's Hampstead Heath and uses fast human runners in place of bulls. But it's also a pub crawl.
Yeah.
How does so you have to go drink and then run from
real
other
fast
people
from pub to pub because those fast runners, they're going to run you down.
Get you. Isn't that that was World's End. That was just a documentary.
My gosh.
Okay, that's funny. I like the French Quarter running of the bulls. In the French Quarter, New Orleans, they actually do put people on skates and wear horns and red shirts, and they just skate around the French Quarter. And there is a guy apparently dressed up as a giant bull, but there are no bulls actually in the French Quarter, as far as I know.
So which would you do any or all of these? There's the scuba diving, there's the skydiving, and there's the running of the bulls.
Did you find when you're watching any of those, did you get a little tight in your gut as you're thinking, as you kind of put yourself in one of those situations? I mean,
well, scuba diving I've done, so I have no fear of that. That's an easy one, but I get it if you're afraid of that kind of the claustrophobic idea of underwater and I mean, for some people, the whole idea of breathing through something underwater is a scare. And you can see with Arjun, absolutely. It's something that is a struggle for him. Skydiving, I used to want to do. I had a roommate briefly in college who had skydived and skydived. He succeeded, but he landed wrong and broke his back and spending the rest of his life in a wheelchair. So,
okay.
That to me is like,
that one off the list.
I guess I don't need to do that. That kind of, put the kibosh on that for me. Running the bulls, I never wanted to do. So, but I would do La Tomatina, even though it's gross. I
would do La Tomatina. Yeah, I would do that one for sure. And the thing I kept thinking about is, what would it take for me to be a guy who could get in the truck? Like, I want to be a truck guy because that looks really fun. Like driving around, throwing tomatoes and like falling back into doing the nesty plunge into the trucks. That looked really fun.
Well,
so I think that would probably be the only one. Yeah, tomato sledding. That would be cool too. I'm not crazy about any of them. I have a real sort of open water issue that I haven't quite gotten to come to terms yet with. I know exposure therapy is a thing. Not crazy about it.
Well, I'll tell you the thing with scuba diving that is great to know. Like when you're in the water and you don't have anything on, you can't see what's under you. It's a lot more nerve wracking. When you have goggles on and you're actually under the water and you can see everything,
Yeah.
you feel a lot more comfortable. I found, and I think I've heard other people who feel the same.
Well, and that's why I've heard the same thing about jumping out of the plane, is that when you're jumping out of the plane, it can be super terrifying. When you're falling, it's not like you're falling at all, right?
Yeah,
it just is really exhilarating floating. And so that you have a greater sense of control. It's all fake control, but you feel like you're in control. So I don't think this movie did not propel me to actually pick up the phone and schedule an appointment.
So in other words,
With any of these.
Our plans for an upcoming trip will not include us doing adventure sports where we're each going to pick something to surprise the
other. No, we can pick a movie theater somewhere in the world and we can just go there.
We'll
and watch movies about
3D
those things.
Adventure sport movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
All right.
D-Box. It'll be great.
Yeah, there you go. It's
great. Just former bull runners spitting on you at exciting parts of a movie.
Oh, my. All right, well, let's so the actors, I really just loved all these actors. Hrithik Roshan, Farhan Akhtar, Abhay Deol, like that trio. They worked so well as a trio. And then you throw Layla into the mix, Katrina Kaif. I enjoyed the presence that all of them brought to screen. And yeah, absolutely. I was kind of like with you. I'm like, I would watch, more movies with any of these three. Like I found them such an enjoyable cast that it was an easy watch for me.
Yeah. And if any of them are listening, I would join you for dinner too. I feel like we'd have a lot to talk about. Maybe we could do a little karaoke or something after, like just a cast party with Pete and Andy.
I want to learn some of dance moves. Like seriously,
yeah.
The dance moves they have, it's insane. Like I just any of them. It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
So what do you think Zoya brought to the table as the director of this? This was not her first film. This was her second film. She had done a film before, Luck by Chance, but this was her second film.
I haven't seen, obviously, Luck by Chance. This was my first chance to see anything of Zoya. But as her second film, what a capable filmmaker, right? There is a lot going on in this movie. So much going on in this movie at any given point. And I never felt like I was in an out of control experience at all. Like I felt like as much as much as I have quibbles with some of the hyper sincerity and the romance that she was trying to bring to it and the Jedi fortune cookie elements, I do get a sense that these are things that she loves and that she was super intentional about as she built the sort of pieces to this particular puzzle. So I felt like she really handled it well. I do love all the settings. I mean, every single one of the settings offered something new and unique, from shooting underwater to shooting in midair to shooting, in the bulls, felt super active and like great action sequences that didn't feel out of place in a movie like this. And of course, the dancing, it was a fantasy. And I think I think she did a really, really good job.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought she captured the characters so well for this type of story. Like they all felt so authentic, and I really just enjoyed every moment that we had with them. So and there were little moments. I mean, it wasn't like an overtly directed film or anything like that. Like nothing like that screamed like, "Hey, look at me! I'm directing a movie." And as much as I love that sort of stuff, it wasn't anything like that. But there was one great little moment I noticed when they leave Buñol, Spain, and they say goodbye to Layla. They drive away, and there's this moment where they drive under an overpass, and the three guys like fade into darkness, and it was just that like little moment, and then we cut to Layla as she decides she wants to chase after them, and but like just that idea of just like fading into black to use as the cut, like gave us a great sense of place for these guys, specifically Arjan, who just he found a connection finally with someone and kind of didn't want to leave. And so I enjoyed like those they're small moments, but they were very effective. So I just definitely enjoyed what she did here, and certainly would love to check out more of her films.
I would too. I'd like to, as I was looking through her films, I stumbled on Gully Boy, which was her 2019 film, again produced by her and Farhad, and she wrote and directed it. It is the story of street rappers in Mumbai, and the trailer looks fantastic. It's currently a 7.9 on IMDb. It just feels like it feels like we need to dive into some more of these films. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I did not find this, but you wrote in our notes, video game.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know enough about the Bollywood world of films and stuff, but apparently this was the sort of movie that it's popular enough to make a video game about, a mobile video game. So for your phone, it was based on the film and its experience at the La Tomatina Festival specifically. The film came out shortly after the movie did. I don't know much about it, but that really fascinated me. There was also eyewear. The company Opium had some exclusive glasses that they released with this film. So very popular Bollywood film, and it really kind of shows in the ways that they were able to kind of get all of this sort of stuff out there in the world of marketing.
Wow. Well, I don't know if I would play that game, but I.
Well, what are you doing? Are you throwing tomatoes? Is that the whole thing?
I know.
It's specifically at La Tomatina.
I guess it's just a tomato toss. Tomato toss with Zoya. I'll take it.
Just one more thing that I would just want to say. So of the stories, we it's really a journey for our three leads that we have here. We're following each of them as they try to figure themselves out. It's I think that it works. Kabir is the one who doesn't know if he wants to get married to this woman. Imran is the one who's in search of his father. And Arjun is the one who wants money. Did you find any of those stories the main story, like the crux that worked the best for you?
Well, I feel like I was most attached to the workaholic, right? That whole story of because I think I don't want to speak for you, man, but I think we spend a lot of time at our computers, right? Working, answering email, producing podcasts, the whole idea that, this guy exists in an extreme, and he is motivated by things that I am not necessarily motivated by, right? Acquisition of wealth is not really my number one sort of inspiration, but being able to stop and look around, I think occasionally that's a lesson that I could listen to, that I think it really connected for me. So I was most attentive to his story. Second to the search for father, I thought that was a great story and resolved itself nicely. Third, it was the marriage story. I mean, that was just I like that he overcame that. And I particularly like the tool of actually resolving that story in the credits run, right? I thought that was a nice touch, being able to see that she's with somebody new now, and everybody, they were actually at Layla and what's his name's wedding. I thought that was really cool. Arjun's wedding. I thought that was really cool, because it sort of ties up a lot of loose ends all in one. So that's the order for me of stories I was most interested in. What do you think?
I'm really torn between Arjun's and Imran's stories. Arjun, largely for the reasons that you said, but one of my favorite moments of Arjun's story is when he stops the car and he has to take this call or hop onto his computer to have this meeting with this Japanese businessman, Nakatomi, and the other two are looking at him and they're like, does he even see where we are? This is the most beautiful place. I mean, it was a stunning stop on the side of the road. And he's just staring into his computer, completely oblivious to that. And that spoke a lot to Arjun and the journey that he would be taking over the course of this. And that moment that he had after his scuba dive, when he's on the boat and has that moment of peace and reflection of reliving the experience that he just had, that is a powerful reaction to kind of have to that. And I really enjoyed that. But at the same time, wow, that confrontation that Imran had with his birth father, Salman Habib, wow, that was a punch in the gut. And when he asks him, he's just like, I only have known about you for a year. You've known about me my whole life. Did you ever want to meet me?
Yeah.
And Salman looks at him and says, not really.
Not really.
Like, oh my God. Wow. Just wanted to slap him. That was,
but also,
for me, that was a powerful
wonderful
thing.
moment. What a wonderful moment of like authenticity. Like, I don't think it would have served him at all not to get an honest answer from this guy who abandoned him. Like, of course that search was going to be futile. I think it was just really well written and well played.
That's what it was. That's what it was. But also, it allowed for that line to come back when Salman says, "Look, I'm sorry," as Imran's getting ready to leave, and then Imran turns to him and repeats what Arjan had said to him. He's like, "Don't apologize unless you're honest about it or whatever."
Yep.
And that was that great punch in the gut that he finally got it, and used that as a tool against this loser father of his, and then later does that amazing apology to Arjun. Like, oh, man, just like that, like his growth I found really powerful. And then when he calls his mom, it's just like, I don't know. See, I almost would put Imran over Arjun just because of how emotionally connected I ended up feeling with that journey in those last bits.
Yeah.
But both of those are way up there for me. And yeah, Kabir, that was a very much kind of expected one that essentially gets the story going, but it wasn't the one that I connected with nearly as much as the other two.
Yeah, I agree. Me too.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about the strangeness of Imran's weird obsession with the bag. What was Baggy doing? Like, that was the strangest.
Oh, God, you're right. We didn't mention that at all. He kept putting glasses on it. That was crazy.
So weird. I was
that
laughing
was really
every time.
funny.
Like, when it's a 12,000.
It wasn't even his bag, right? It was a gift for, what's her name? For the bride?
You're right, exactly, for Natasha. It was one of the, but I think he was obsessed with it. The fact that it was 12,000 euros, like that is an expensive bag. So I can see why he was obsessing over it, because he's just like, what is up with this thing? Like, why is this thing so much money?
Yeah, that's crazy.
We will be right back, but first, our credits.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM. Engineering by Andy Nelson. Music by Sharabina, Oriel Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show at truestory.fm. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, consider doing that for our show. I hear there is hope that there might be a sequel to this movie.
Yeah, they haven't talked about it since 2015. I don't think. No, since 2019, actually. Zoya, like right when the film came out, she said she had an idea for a sequel. It would be, the same actors reprising their roles. One of those stories where 5 or 6 years later and seeing where they are now, sort of thing. But no real confirmations had happened. Her brother, Farhan, said there was no necessity for a sequel, but Zoya is the one who seems more interested potentially in doing one. I don't know. She's been back and forth. In 2013, she said she was interested in writing the sequel after her next film. But then in 2019, she said, honestly, people want a second movie, but I think the best franchise would either be Luck by Chance or Dilda Dakni Do.
No idea what that means.
How's that?
Not even a little clue.
So it sounds like if she's going to do a sequel, it's to one of her other films, not this one. So I don't think we'll be seeing that, sadly.
All right. Well, it's nice to know it's out there, but I don't think I need it either. I really was. I was satisfied with this. Not everything needs a sequel.
I was satisfied with this as well.
How to do it award season.
Whew, I tell you, it's a whole other world over there in Bollywood. 32 wins, 22 other nominations. I'm not even going to go through all of the different awards that are over there, but I'll just name off a few. At the annual Central European Bollywood Awards India, it won for Best Film, Director, and Supporting Actor for Farhan Akhtar, who played Irman, and nominated Hrithik Roshan for Arjun, supporting actress Kalki Koechlin, who was Natasha, and supporting actor Abhay Deol, who played Kamir. So a lot of nominations, 3 other wins. At the awards for the International Indian Film Academy, it won it separated awards for technical achievement. It won sound mixing, story, screenplay, choreography for the song Señorita, cinematography, and editing. It also won the Popular Awards for Best Picture, Director, and Actor Farhan Akhtar. Also nominated for Popular Awards, lead actor Hrithik Roshan, supporting actor Abhay Deol, supporting actress Kalki Koechlin, music director and lyricist for the song Kwabon Ke Parinde. It also had a special award nomination for the star plus the hottest pair, Hrithik Roshan and Katrina Kaif.
Plus the hottest pair.
Plus the hottest pair. That's right. That's just a few of them. But yeah, you go down the list. Filmfare, it had a bunch of wins there at the Indian Recording Arts Awards, at the Mirchi Music Awards, India's National Film Awards, India's Screen Awards, the Stardust Awards, the Zee Cinema Awards, like all Bollywood film awards. And it did well. It did well for itself.
How to do at the box office.
Well, Akhtar's film cost 450 million rupees to make, which is about $6.3 million or 7.1 million in today's dollars. The movie premiered in India, the UK, Ireland, and the Netherlands on July 15, 2011, and here in the US on a limited release in specialty theaters on 100 screens opposite Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 and Winnie the Pooh. The movie earned 3.1 million domestically and 26.1 million internationally for a total gross of 33.4 million in today's dollars, giving it an adjusted profit per finished minute of $169,000.
It actually surprises me. I mean, we're talking domestically, but it surprises me that it made that much money.
Well, I don't know how it is where you are, but like certain theaters around me, and I'm assuming that these specialty, like these screens where it plays, like they will hold one screen where it will be Bollywood films quite often. And I've never walked into one to see how popular they are, but I'm assuming that a lot of people who are big fans of these Bollywood movies go and see them, and they end up making the money. So that's my guess. Yeah.
Well, now I need to go find that theater.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're here. I mean,
it's my AMC. Like they will hold a screen, and often, it's not all the time, but often I'll go down there and I'll see, oh, there's one showing some Bollywood movie that I didn't even know was.
Wow. This might need to be a thing that I do in 2022.
Yeah.
It's a thing I do in 22. Is just I'm sure you're right. Now that you say that, I know whenever I jump on Fandango to buy tickets, there's always that theater that has all these movies that I'm just not connected to. I'm going to start doing this, Andy. I'm going to start seeing more Bollywood movies.
Let's do it.
This is a whole new
thing to do for
it's going to be a whole new year. The thing to do for 22. And we just discovered a new thing to alliterate.
Win-win.
Well, I thought it was a really fun experience and surprisingly rewarding character journeys in this movie. It could have come off the rails in so many different places, and it just managed to hold on all the way to a singing and dancing finale that really hit me in the sweet spot.
It absolutely did. It was a delight of a film. I said I watched it with my wife and my mom, and we just all loved it. It was just so much fun to watch. Just such great characters. And again, it's this sort of film about this personal journey. And I'm often a sucker with those sorts of films. And it worked exceptionally here. Like I just found these characters a real joy, and I enjoyed this journey with them. So absolute win for me.
We're going to be right back with our ratings. But first, we got a trailer for next week's movie. You know what it is? Anne Huey's A Simple Life.
好耐冇食牛脷，今日都俾你食咗蟹蓋啦，你又想再通波仔啊？嚇？
哇！你真係幾好心地嘅喎，老工人你都照顧埋。
我喺呢度好噶啦，有人照顧我啊！
媽咪同我講咧，後生嗰陣時好多人追嘅喎。
我菜
笑咩？
冇諗起嗰陣時咧，桃姐中到你不得了。
啱仔嗰陣。
我又有時間健健康康咁照顧翻佢 ，timing 非常好。
All right, Andy, Letterbox. How'd you end up on your review of this one?
Oh.
Did you find the elusive sixth star?
I'm so torn on this because, like, largely I just loved everything about the movie. It just was a complete a win for me. It does have some of those tropes that it falls onto to kind of like get the story going and give us those moments. How much did they bug me? It's, not a lot. I mean, there's a little bit, but it's, I don't know. I found it to be largely a big success. So I feel I'm going to end at 4.5 because this, I think, would definitely be an easy film to come back and revisit down the road. Just full of life and great music.
That's fascinating. I think I'm probably in the same place. I came in to this conversation at 4. I thought 4 stars is going to be where I land because I was just a little chuffed by the Jedi fortune cookie and the frustrated fiancé tropes. Like, they just didn't land right. But this is a movie that I hesitate not one bit to recommend to people who like who I think are going to like these kinds of movies, rom-coms, journey movies, character sort of comedies. This is just a really rewarding film. So I think I'll be there right with you at 4.5 stars and a heart.
4.5 and a heart. All right. Well, that will be what we drop over on Letterboxd. 4.5 and a heart. So what did you think about Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara? We want to know. Hop into the Show Talk channel in Discord. Over in our Discord server, we will be talking about it this week, and we would love to have you in on the conversation.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Letterboxd giveth, Andrew.
As Letterboxd always doeth.
So these are the thirstiest reviews we could find? Is that our strategy?
Apparently. Although I do want to point out that Carl, who gave it 4 stars, calls out right away 10th anniversary. So thank you, Carl. It's like Carl was celebrating us, really.
Carl's there with us.
Sure. Yeah. And also, Carl does also call out the abs. He says, on a thirst level, I assume many are taken with Hrithik Roshan, who displays his magnificent torso on the poster. I actually prefer Farhan Akhtar, whose chest and abs, luckily shown often, are also impressive.
Yes.
So clearly that's a thing. But yeah, Sherwin, right there at the top, most popular review, 4 stars. Oh, to be a crushed tomato thrown at Hrithik Roshan's abs.
Well, I have a follow-up, another 4-star from Wilson, who says, who actually opens with the appropriate level of thirst himself. POV, you are a tomato being crushed by Hrithik Roshan's muscular hand at a festival described as holy, but with tomatoes. Then goes on, fantastic road trip movie from Zoya Akhtar with really solid performances from the 3 leads. Each of the guys had fully fleshed out storylines that all paid off. It always amazes me how the plotting in these Bollywood movies manages to be so tight with their long run times. Sparse musical numbers, but all of them count. A couple of Arjun and Layla scenes had me head over heels in love. I'm back in the Bollywood game, guys. Thank you, Wilson, for the review. That is the big surprise to me, and it just reminds me that I have seen Bollywood movies. I have probably not seen enough.
Yeah, clearly not. Clearly not. Definitely on the list to see more like this. So,
yep. Thanks, Letterboxd. Andy, it's hard to believe we've been having weekly conversations about movies since 2011.
Oh, you're telling me. Producing this show week after week is so much fun, but it does require a ton of work behind the scenes. If you'd like to help support our efforts, one easy way is by using our Originals page when shopping for books and movies that we've covered.
Your purchases made through our links give us a small commission at no extra cost to you and allow us to keep having these great discussions.
The Originals page at thenextreel.com/originals has links to purchase the source material behind our adapted film discussions. Your purchases there help support the show at no extra cost.
For the entirety of Season 11, we featured films directed by women.
The only exceptions were some of our member bonus episodes.
We talked about The Lure for our Horror Debuts series, which is a very loose adaptation of The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen.
Definitely miles from the Disney versions.
For our 10-year anniversary series, we covered We Need to Talk About Kevin, taken from the Lionel Shriver novel.
Man, that was brilliant.
And horrifying.
Yeah. The Journalist series included Merrily We Go to Hell and The Weight of Water, adapted from Anita Shreve's bestseller.
We filled some gaps in previous series with member bonus episodes on adaptations like Malcolm X, Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, Cactus Flower, Wild at Heart, Life Force, and The Blues Brothers.
Our John Hurd series looked at a trio of adaptations: Chilly Scenes of Winter from the novel by Ann Beatty, Awakenings based on Oliver Sacks' nonfiction book, and Rambling Rose adapted from the Calder Willingham novel.
2 films in our coming-of-age debuts series were adapted from books: The Virgin Suicides from Jeffrey Eugenides, and The Diary of a Teenage Girl, Phoebe Glockner's graphic novel.
We had Queen of Katwe for our sports series based on Tim Crothers' nonfiction book.
And Clueless kicked off our 90s comedy series, loosely adapted from Jane Austen's Emma.
It totally took place in the 90s, though. Find all of these books and more adaptations on our Originals page at thenextreel.com/originals.
Start your next read from the movies we've covered. Visit thenextreel.com/originals today.